At the time of this recording, it is July 25th, 2025. And if you've been watching me for any length of time, a year, 5 years, you know what I'm going to say next. That's right. Spooky season starts next week. It starts on August 1st, whether you like it or not. You can call it cozy season if you don't like the spooky part, but either way, 98 days until Halloween. You have just over 3 months to make and watch your list of scary movies, and of course, I'll be helping you with that. You have just over 3 months to shred down into your sexy Halloween costume. You have, 3 months to decorate. I am going nuts over those Halloween trees where you take a Christmas tree, but you decorate it for Halloween and then you just leave it up until New Year. That is my shit. Spooky season is upon us. And I'm going to start us off with 2 testimonials because I would like to demonstrate a pattern that I've been asked about quite a bit. I bet you'll be able to guess what the pattern is by the end of the second testimonial. So we're going to do a testimonial double feature. Don't worry, they're pretty short. The first one is from Jenny. She says, "Hi, Andy. You did a reading for me a few years ago and asked if my mom had lost any pregnancies. You said that there was a baby girl energy connected with her. And at the time, I could not think of why that would be. You asked me to write it down in case future information came to light, and I just found out that my mom had an abortion a few years before she had me. Wow, I never doubted your ability, but this is really underlining how accurate you are. Thank you for what you do, Jenny." And here's the second testimonial, which is an excerpt from a very long and detailed feedback message from Miss Allison. She says, "Hi, Andy. I had an absolute mind-blowing moment last night when I was able to go through my entire reading with both of my parents in person. And I actually learned something about myself that my parents never discussed with me in all of my 37 years of life. They said I was known to have a learning disability, and that it definitely wasn't my dad who you were referring to who had the June birthday, it was me. Mind blown, but also affirmed everything I've always thought about myself. School never came easy to me. This was the first time my parents had ever admitted this to me, and it just validated my suspicion about myself. Allie." So I think the theme here is pretty self-evident. The notion of family mysteries, secrets, things your parents didn't tell you before, that comes up in readings all the time. It's extremely normal. And that's why it's so important to take really good notes and then refer back to your notes and cross-check that information with other living people, because chances are it either slipped their mind or they just didn't want to fess up to it. Either way, skeletons in the closet is a pretty common thing to come up in readings. If you are interested in what crazy things your departed loved ones might clue you into in a reading, you can schedule a reading with me through my website, andyraymedium.com, and you can find a link for that in my show notes. And speaking of readings, if I have read you at any point in the last 6 to 8 weeks, please go get your reading notes, because I have a list of things here that I explicitly remember mentioning for more than one client that have since popped up in the headlines. So if any of these are in your notes, you owe me an update message if you have the time. I'd really appreciate it. Here it goes. Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, Bats, War Pigs, Slipknot, Youngblood, Hulk Hogan, WWE, Jack Black. If I mentioned any of those things in your reading, just make a mental note that your departed loved ones knew what was coming up in the headlines before we as humans did. And that's just a reminder that they are omniscient, and this is why we trust them to advise us. It's all very sad. As a lifelong metal fan, I'm devastated that Ozzy has passed. I do have quite a few Ozzy Osbourne solo and Black Sabbath songs in my clairaudience library, in that when I'm doing a reading, songs will come through and those songs indicate certain concepts. I picked out 3 Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne songs to very briefly break down, to give you guys an example of how clairaudience works. Again, lyrics can have very literal interpretations, And then they can have very metaphorical, contextual interpretations. So here it goes. First one is Mr. Crowley. And this bit of the song goes, Mr. Crowley, did you speak to the dead? When this comes up in a reading, this tells me that the person I'm reading for is questioning whether or not they have mediumistic ability. So if that comes up in your reading, I know you've had some mediumistic experiences. The next song from Ozzy's catalog is I Don't Want to Stop. When I hear that song come up in a reading, what that tells me is the person I'm reading for, or someone connected to them, whatever we're talking about, probably has either OCD or has the kind of ADHD that causes them to hyperfixate on things. And that song goes, all my life I've been over the top. I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is I don't want to stop. So again, OCD or ADHD hyperfixation. The third song is Mama, I'm Coming Home. And when I pick up on that in a reading, that's usually indicating a toxic relationship. The song goes, you made me cry, you told me lies, but I can't stand to say goodbye, implying that people are feeling trapped in a toxic connection. So I hope you guys find that helpful. You can literally take any song you're super familiar with and decide with the energy around you, like, hey, that song means this. And if you find that that result is provable and correct over time, that's how you know that you can trust that definition, if you will, of that song. And R.I.P. Ozzy, because and I should probably mention again that if you see anyone on social media claiming to be talking to dead celebrities, the answer is no, they're not. Because if there is no living person present in that TikTok chat or whatever to validate information that would not otherwise be known to the public, that person is just making it up. So definitely don't trust people who are like, oh, I'm talking to Hulk Hogan. No, you're not. No, you're not. And circling back to Black Sabbath and Youngblood, pretty wild stuff on spiritual TikTok about like, oh, that music video, they were doing soul transference. I just want to say that's not how any of this works. Even if two people sat down and were like, yeah, after I die, you can have part of my soul. That's not how this works. No one's soul is hanging out inside another person's body. So I hope that clears up any confusion around that. Again, just because a bunch of people are saying a thing or because one person is saying a thing really confidently, that doesn't mean that that's actually how that works. So I hope that clears that up. And again, people's parasocial connections with celebrities and their projections upon celebrities are completely out of control. Completely out of control. And speaking of really enjoying and relating to entertainment, let's talk about horror movies. 'Tis the season, and dissecting scary movies for their metaphorical messages is a long-standing tradition here on the Indie Talks Energy podcast. So let's get started with my very first recommendation of the season. Ugly Stepsister is the Norwegian retelling of Cinderella, and it is fantastic. I normally don't do foreign films. I'm not clever enough to follow a plot and subtitles at the same time, but I made an exception for this one. So good. Love it. Maybe it's right up there in my favorites. It's like right up there next to Jennifer's Body. But yeah, it's mostly like some mild gore, comparatively speaking. If you're curious at all about 18th century plastic surgery, you're gonna love this one. Yeah, so if you know anything about fairy tales, you know that fairy tales in their original format, like from the 17 and 1800s, are already gruesome, but this retelling of Cinderella kind of takes it to the next level. And the plot, pretty obvious. If you know what happens in Cinderella, you get the gist. So check out The Ugly Stepsister. I found it on Shudder. They're not sponsoring me or anything, but like, I am giving that Shudder subscription a workout. Speaking of The Ugly Stepsister, I think we can all agree that the stepsister tropes, the stepsister characters in Cinderella retellings are pick-me's. We're going to talk about how pick-me behavior is actually repellent to the people who are actually meant for you in this life. Now, this applies to friendships and family relationships as well, but we're going to go full Delilah, and we're going to talk about this in a romantic context. If you've been in a relationship for a while, and you are not feeling like yourself, and you're not feeling your partner, and you feel like they're not feeling you, don't turn into a pick-me. Don't start reading weird articles like how to make him like you again. Don't Don't be that girl. Instead, what you need to do is fall back in love with yourself. Chances are, if you've been in a relationship for a while, you've probably changed how you spend your time. You've probably reprioritized your entire life to accommodate the relationship. And unfortunately, things that are easily accessible are often taken for granted. So rather than going down the rabbit hole of figuring out how to fix the relationship, try to fix your relationship with you. Don't be a pick me, be a pick you. Go back to doing the things that make you your own type. Creatively, intellectually, professionally, intimately. Do the things that you like. And you may find that your vibration feels better and you're putting off a better energy and people are interacting with you in a different way than they have before. And that will be happening probably on a very subtle energetic level. They might not even actually notice how you've changed your schedule or changed your interests. But the point is you're going to feel better, and people who feel good about themselves are more fun to be around and are more attractive. So if that doesn't work, then you can blow up your relationship. I'm never going to recommend staying in something that needs to end. But if you're wondering, is there any way to fix it, make it more interesting, bring the spark back? Go back to spending your time the way you did when you were single and stop trying to fix the relationship. You feel good about you, the right relationships will stick with you and the wrong ones will fall away. And I'm going to say this, I hope this goes without saying, but anyone who tries to stop you from doing things that make you feel good and that you're interested in, or they constantly interrupt it, or they're constantly like pulling you away from that or guilting you for doing it, get rid of them. That's an absolute no. But you don't know till you try, right? So I really hope this helps. If you would like private readings, you can schedule those through the link in the bio, andyrayemedium.com. I'm on social media, as always, TikTok, YouTube, and Evolve Plus, the app. And I will see you guys for the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.